All right, welcome to the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accountability Committee meeting. I'm going to go ahead and read the preamble. This meeting is compliant with the Ralph M. Brown Act as amended by California Assembly Bill number 361, effective September 16, 2021, providing for a public health emergency exception to the standard teleconference rules required by the Brown Act. The purpose of this is to provide a safe environment for the public, staff, and committee members while allowing for public participation. The public may address the committee members using exclusively remote public comment options. The committee may take action on any item listed on the agenda. To address the committee, the IDEA Committee meeting will be an exclusively virtual meeting. The IDEA Committee meeting agenda materials may be viewed online at brisbaneca.org at least 24 hours prior to a special meeting and at least 72 hours prior to a regular meeting. To view the meeting, join the Zoom with the Zoom information below. Remote public comments. Meeting participants are encouraged to submit public comments in writing in advance of the meeting. Aside from the commenting while in the Zoom meeting, the following email and text line will also be monitored during the meeting, and public comments received will be noted into the record during oral communications or during an item. Email ipadilla@brisbaneca.org, text 628-219-2922. Join the Zoom meeting with the ID 816-0979-9931 and the passcode 123456. The call-in number is 1-669-900-9128. If you need special assistance to participate in this meeting, please contact the city clerk at 415-508-2113. Notification in advance of the meeting will enable the city to make reasonable arrangements to ensure accessibility to this meeting. Okay, I'm now calling the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Committee member Alexander Horton.
Here, I'm sorry, I don't remember how I'm supposed to respond to that.
That's good. Committee member Mangesh Kalhatkar.
Here.
Committee member William Locke.
Here.
Committee member Diane Osetti.
Aye.
Can I get a first and a second to approve the agenda as it stands, unless folks have.
I'll fix it.
Okay, was that you, William?
Yep.
Great. And we are now moving into the public comment. There is no one from the public in attendance, and I have not received any text messages or emails. So we'll go ahead into the discussion of committee responsibilities. So now this is kind of like the general, flow of all of our meeting agendas, and hopefully this time around we'll have a lot more conversation and dialogue, and staff is here to kind of just listen and take notes and take direction from the committee members. We'll start by the discussion of committee responsibilities and meeting ground rules. So like the staff report discussed, conversations about diversity and inclusion can be difficult. So we had a draft set of ground rules or meeting ground rules that was taken from the internal staff-led group from the city of Brisbane. They're called EPIC, Equity Plus Inclusion Committee. That's like a internal staff-led group, like I mentioned, and they had the following meeting ground rules to kind of help us with our discussion and conversations, because a lot of the conversations around equity and diversity issues is difficult and personal. And so let me go ahead and share like a little slideshow presentation. Just bear with me here. All right, can you see that now? Yeah, so I mean, when we discussed this as a group of staff, we thought that staying engaged, showing up, understanding that we have to experience discomfort during our times together, speak your truth and acknowledge your feelings, expect and accept non-closure, but strive for impact, be respectful, no judgment, keep an open mind, be personal, but don't take it personal. So we thought these were a set of ground rules that will help kind of provide opportunities for us to have, a safe space for discussion, conversation. What do the committee members think?
Well, I don't have any comments right now, but I like the list though.
I'm sorry, what is it? I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
yeah, I like the list. I don't have any comments right now, but I'm
Uh,
hoping to see what everyone else says.
Okay.
Yeah, I think these look good. I guess maybe the only other one that I would add that I've used in other groups similar to this would be to just come into this space with grace and recognizing that, like, as we're going through discomfort, folks have the best of intentions, and holding that a little bit as we work through this together.
Okay.
Yeah, and in that way,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Did you say, but everyone is coming into it with the right intention?
Yeah, with good intentions,
With
and
good
but
intentions.
we're just working, to like sort of keeping in mind all those other ground rules. Like, there will be discomfort. We're doing the best that we can, and so recognizing that in others as well.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Was that Mangesh?
yeah, no, in the same vein, basically, just take a broader view, be more circumspect, and look at see the forest for the trees during these discussions, just to corroborate the point made by Alexandra. And one other, I think this covers it all pretty much, and one additional thing might be to be empathetic and to show empathy in the discussions. That is kind of covered across these bullets, but so just adding that explicitly as an additional ground rule.
Yeah, I have no comments. Yeah, no comments.
No additions. Okay. William, any other?
No, I think for me, it really just I just want to see how this plays out and kind of like go on from there, because it's kind of hard to create ground rules when we haven't really done anything yet.
You're right. Great, thank you.
Yeah, one comment maybe like the last one, be personal, but don't take it personal. Be personal. Maybe in the future we may need some kind of guidance, but I can share my own opinion. But as a part of the city committee members, it has to be kind of fair, not just sharing one-sided view. It could be, sometimes personal. So maybe, I don't know if I cannot really find a better wording.
During the times when you have to take action as a committee member.
Right, as a city
to
member, right? It's kind of different from
share.
Private person sharing one view, but but it's still personal.
Okay, great. So right now I have come into the space with grace, and knowing that everyone has good intentions, take a broader perspective, show empathy in the discussion, and Diane's be fair and not share one side as a committee member.
Yes, I can find a better wording, but maybe you can suggest, or someone, everyone can suggest.
Anybody have any comments around wordsmithing it?
Is it like recognizing that you're just one voice when you're sharing?
Yeah, I don't want to just represent one particular view, but sometimes as a city government needs to acknowledge everyone's view, although
Okay.
sharing some personal view.
Acknowledging.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it needs to be kind of neutral, although I want to kind of address one particular viewpoint.
So basically, I think it's like in addition to that, keep an open mind bullet,
Right,
acknowledging other views
Mhm.
right, yeah,
as a committee member.
right, exactly, right.
And it sounds a little bit like recognizing that you come in to this space as an individual, but the goal of this committee is to benefit the community.
Exactly.
So it's important to like keep, I think, to other points made, like to keep the broader perspective in mind as well. And like, of course, we come with our experiences, but we aren't working in service of our own benefit.
I'll go ahead and add that to the proposed meeting ground rules, and I'll come back to the group next time to kind of formally approve those. And this is kind of different from other committees. I don't believe they have meeting ground rules, but I think this is what makes the IDEA committee very unique in that sense, because of the subject matter and just kind of the inclusive discussions that, that we have to partake in. I think you do have to kind of be at a different space, coming into this meeting. I mean, and with that, we really want to just talk about Brisbane and really getting into a deeper discussion about inclusion, diversity, equity, and accountability, but mostly from your perspective. We kind of wanted to help paint a picture of what that means for the city of Brisbane specifically. And Caroline, as our communications manager, wanted to show you one page that we have in our city website. It's the About Us page, and it kind of gives you a little glimpse of the diversity within the city of Brisbane. Can I make you co-host right now, Caroline?
Yeah, sure.
Do you need to share the page?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have to stop sharing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, I can share when you're still sharing. Okay, got it.
The power.
All right, let me just get onto the gallery. I'm going to take you in from our homepage so you can see where to access the About Us page. So hopefully you can see my
Take us to
city's website.
The IDEA page first.
Oh, you want to go to the IDEA page first?
Yeah, let's just show them
Okay.
where to find it.
All right, sure. So under government is one of the first mega menu on our website, brisbanestate.org. And so under commissions and committees, inclusion, diversity, equity, and accountability, IDEA committee is here. So we have purpose, membership, and meeting times. Just for now, we'll definitely add on different sections as we discuss, and then the members are listed here. So this is where you can find all the different commissions and committees, and anything with a plus, you can expand and see the members. So that's the IDEA page. And I'll go to the About Us page under community, the third mega menu, and About Us is the very first link. So this is a snapshot of Brisbane. In the staff report, we hadn't yet discovered the census data had been released for our community. So we have updated that to 4,800 instead of the 4.7 that's listed in the staff report. So this is a very newly updated page, and it has population up top, median age, poverty rate, housing units, and median household income, property value, number of employees. These two sets of data are from Data USA. So the census for the 2020 census hasn't all been released yet. So we're taking data from the census that has been released. And there's a link to an individual page from the US Census where you can see more information. So there's a lot of different areas here. But going back to the About Us page, we have recognized some scenes here. Just talk about that we represent 3.1 square miles. 85% of our total is underwater. But under form of government, we have a little bit about our, I guess, birth date and year of incorporation, 1961, general law city, with the council elected at large, the mayor's chosen by the city council and changes every year. And our elections are held every odd number of years. And our registered voters. Below is information provided by Data USA, which is a collaboration between Deloitte and DataWheel. So we found this to be really a nice visual of different data sets. So we started iframing sections from Data USA's site into our website. So starting with race and ethnicity, and this is all detailed in the staff report too. This is just the visual representation, and all these are the years are clickable, so you can see how it changes from year to year. The most recent being 2019. But as they update their data, then this page will automatically be updated, which is very nice. So the breakdown being here, the 5 largest ethnic groups in Brisbane are white, and then Asian, and then Hispanic is multiracial, Black, and other. So I noticed when I last looked at this, when we were doing a event in our community park last year, I rounded to 30% for Asian, and now it's over. So I thought that was a pretty large growth compared to the other categories. So I just want to point that out. And property value is one we called out. So there's a little blurb about it in each section along with the data that you're welcome to go through. Employment by occupations is from the residents of Brisbane and the different industries. I talked to our economic development director, and he said that the number of employees currently is estimated to be between 8,500 to 9,000 that come into Brisbane and work within the city every day. So, and then the last set of data is the rent versus own. So 74% home ownership. So about 3/4 split that way. So do you have any questions about this page? Hopefully it just gives you a good snapshot of the town right now.
And just to clarify, the number of employees is the number of employees out of that population? Like
Yes,
number of people employed,
right. So it's about 66%.
because the others are like children or
Right. Seniors. Mhm.
seniors. Did any of these statistics surprise anyone, or it felt like this is exactly what you thought Brisbane was about?
Well, I think for me, the home ownership was surprising because that seemed a little high for me. Well, especially compared to, I'm guessing the other numbers are the United States and then other big cities.
Mhm. Yeah, they had called out like Alameda. Yeah, I can maybe go a little bit bigger on my screen, but yeah, they called out various regions. I'm not sure the right reason for these areas, East Bay, but San Francisco is down here. I thought that was surprising too, actually.
Yeah, in San Francisco too. Is under 40%.
Well, that I believe.
Yeah, so you can share from our page this data. And there's more. The Data USA site, we've linked to it, I believe, here too. So if you wanted to go there, kind of see where we got the layout idea. But there's maybe something to clarify. I don't know if you noticed in the staff report, it had something about the 0% of the households in Brisbane speaking a non-English language at home as their primary language. And I reached out to Data USA because the census had a table that said that 30% of households are like bilingual. And so I'm like, what is, there seems to be a conflict in the two. So that's the data. And Data USA was saying, we understand that that is could be misinterpreted, but they're working on changing that. It's just that when people answered the survey, they still said that their primary language spoken within the home was English. So then that's where that comes from.
Yeah, that was kind of a question because we never spoke English as a primary language at home. Maybe I'm one of
The one.
5,000.
Didn't make it to the 1%. Yeah, so I hope they have that more maybe granular or take that out. They recognize that was maybe confusing. But yeah, it goes into a lot of various charts here. So we pulled the ones that were thought of most interest when people go on to see website and what they're generally searching for. But they even have a section down here that has COVID now. So they are updating this very frequently. So that's good. It's nice that they are working on keeping this current. So yeah, we pulled these.
Wage by race and ethnicity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just so much. Even there's like a veterans one too.
Was that you?
No, I don't know what that was.
I don't know what happened.
We're recording. Yeah, So anyways, if you're into stats, you might want to come back here and go through all this.
Wow, it's like,
It's a lot. We don't want to overwhelm people on our side, so we pulled the ones that were of interest. Yeah, and the commute time. Oh, and the number of cars. Average number of cars. Yeah, I think the health section is the last section.
yeah, it looks like some of the information is also just state-based.
Yeah, it
About
may not be
public
specific
data.
to Brisbane. Yeah. And then as they allow you to compare yourselves across if you wanted to add a comparison to a different city or not. But these are about my city.
It's so interesting.
You guys remember how to get here? And something to point out, if you ever needed to translate our page, at the top of every page is a select language. And you can go into these various 10 languages. And I mean, it's Google Translate, so some things may not be exactly as spoken, but I think it does a pretty good job. So I'm going to put that out and then just have to go back to English. Any other comments about this thing right now?
No, thank you, Caroline. That's very good. It's a very good portal. Lots of great information that'll be quite relevant to the committee. So thank you for showing us the link. And yeah, we'll dive deeper into it as and when we need it.
You're welcome.
So we would like to hear from committee members, like, to you, what is your definition of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accountability? And what other information about the city would you need, or are you curious about, to discuss the city of Brisbane's diversity and issues related to diversity and inclusion? I just want to hear from committee members themselves, kind of like your own definition and what other information, sources of information or pieces of information would be helpful to kind of help clarify your definition.
Well, I can start with what other information I do want, and then I'll go back later for what I think inclusion, diversity, and everything means. So I know that Brisbane holds a lot of community events. I would like to know kind of like the demographics of the people who actually do show up to those. I know it's not all Brisbane residents who do show up, but at least the ones who do show up, age, gender, ethnicity. I do kind of want to know the breakdown for that and maybe how we can expand on certain community members who aren't showing up as much. Because right now Asians account for about a third of Brisbane, but if only 5% of them are showing up, is there something that we can do to kind of gather more, I guess, attention, or just kind of like more excitement within certain people within Brisbane?
I don't think in terms of our special events, we necessarily track those, but maybe for, I don't even know if we track those for registration, for park and rec activities. I think we'll definitely know age, but I'm not sure about the other demographic information, but we can go ahead and find out.
There's some events that require registration, that they would look at him. But yeah, most of them don't. It's just come. I mean, there's photographs.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I mean, but just
Mhm.
kind of like maybe even a ballpark.
Yeah. Definitely will reach out to Parks and Rec and see if they have a understanding too on people that are working at the events.
Mhm.
The only event I can think of with registration is Linafest, just a film festival on June 11th this year. Is there any others? And you know, like we've done workshops in the past where we've had an event, but it's not like a community event, it's a workshop. So I don't know if that's necessarily going to get to what you're looking for.
Mhm.
I was kind of wondering if we can access some kind of resources, like guiding frameworks. I was kind of looking at other cities, Office of Diversity, what they are kind of, Brisbane is unique itself, so we don't really need to imitate other cities, but just to, understand the basics. Because I was just thinking of diversity, it's just gender, race, nationality, but some of the city was kind of looking at or drawing some definition of inclusion from some guidebooks, such as it's called Global Diversity and Inclusion Benchmark Model that is published by the Center for Global Inclusion organization. I was kind of looking at the city of Sacramento's diversity office, and then they are drawing definition from the guidebook. I don't know if the Brisbane can do the same or look at the similar frameworks or guidelines, but we just wanted to get some advice from the city attorney or some expert, because when I first opened the guidebooks, it says diversity is a variety of similarities and differences among people. It includes gender, race, age, culture, nationality, belief system, disability, and job titles. So it's so,
Wow,
it's so
that's right.
broad. And then never really thought about, inclusion means even job and opportunities. So if we have some access to such guideline in general, just to educate ourselves, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think having resources that are also particular to local government kind of activities and projects would be a good framework.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what to be included. We don't really want to focus on gender, nationality, or just culture. Could be a variety of differences that needs to be included.
Yeah, and I think Ingrid, to your point too, I was surprised by how much I mean, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but like when we went through all the rules and regulations of how these meetings have to be run, and how we like can't talk to each other, and the three of us can't meet outside and talk about things. So just having like a clear sense of what the processes are as we move further. This is like far down the line when we have like ideas that we're ready to propose to city council, like how do you do that? And so just making sure that we have all those resources, I think would be really helpful too.
You mean, how do we move the work along given our committee's like guidelines?
I guess so. I mean, I this is the first committee I've ever been on, and so I think if the if the expectation is that we're going to be putting on events, like what is the process involved in that, or if we're going to be proposing or like reviewing policies that city council are recommending, like what is the best practice of how to do those things too. I guess so, just more, yeah. I shouldn't have been surprised, but it was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of rules around the way that we have to do this work. And so just making sure that we're doing it by the book.
That's right. I mean, we were talking about in terms of let me just share my screen in terms of just the primary responsibilities, like you said, it's like, it's a lot, right? Because we did talk about the primary responsibility for the committee would be the implementation of community-focused program and events. So it's like, how do we as a committee go about doing that or identifying those? And also the policies that support and enhance inclusion, diversity, and equity issues. So when we asked at the staff report level, what training and other learning opportunities would committee members like to have to help the committee make local policy recommendations and create a work plan for the year? It's like, would you want more, like more examples, let's say, of work plans also and things like that? Or how to go about, maybe a training also, how to go about making or sound recommendations for policies. Yeah, I see head nods.
Yeah, and I think to Diane's point earlier too, it would be helpful, like just knowing how other communities that have taken this work on, if there are like lessons learned or best practices that are available, stories to share, that we can make the most of our time together and do the best for Brisbane.
Ingrid, I think there's the International City Managers Association that has that equity inclusion section on their website. That might be a good starting point with just a lot of resources like a toolkit and 7 ways leaders can address racial inequities.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of resources out there. Just what would be the best fit for Brisbane. Yeah, and then a lot of resources also that the city of Brisbane and the staff members are a part of, like membership in different like associations and what they define it. It's really like I think there's a lot more resources now than previous years. So I think it would be good if we could compile those also for the committee.
So one other point I wanted to make was since this is our first meeting and this is a relatively recent concept, it would be helpful if we all kind of converge on what the definitions are for inclusion, diversity, equity, and what is the accountability, and overall how these definitions tie into what Brisbane is trying to achieve, what the vision is for Brisbane, and why are we doing this. So I think the broad goal here is to make Brisbane a more welcoming community to people from all walks of life, to give them equal opportunity, to make to ensure that everybody has equity and access to the opportunities, and to include people no matter how diverse they are. And I think that's basically the goal here. So I was just looking at the web just before the meeting, and I think the best thing I found, if I can share my screen here. Oh, this is disabled. Okay, I'm unable to share the screen. Are you able to hand me control, Ingrid, or screen share?
Let me stop sharing real quick. What is it, Mangesh?
Are you able to hand me control for screen share, or is that not possible?
Oh, interesting.
So I can share my screen.
I think if you share your screen, I also have to need the resource for it, so I can also include that in our public meeting. So I can make
it. Never mind then. Right. So I just thought we'd get on the same page in terms of the definitions of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
You can go ahead and share your screen now, Mangesh. You can go ahead and share your screen.
I can?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I guess you can see this. This is from the Gates Foundation, and pretty simple definition. So what is diversity? Diversity is a broad array of differences in identity, perspective, skill, and style. So, as a committee, we need to keep this in the back of our minds for every recommendation that we make to the City Council, and when we answer questions to the staff, and when the staff is looking for guidance or direction from us, or when we have issues and clarifications or seek responses from the staff. So diversity would be a broad array of differences in identity, in perspective, skills, styles. That covers the diversity. Of course, you can get deeper into it. It comes in myriad forms, if you look at diversity, there can be gender diversity, race, religion, marital status, civil partnership status, age, sexual orientation, disability status, and the list goes on, political leaning, and socioeconomic status, and so on. So all of these differences, we need to ensure that all of these stakeholders from these diverse groups are being, are included. Inclusion would be an environment that actively welcomes, connects, and values all while harming none. So that's the key here, to ensure that we provide that environment, we facilitate that environment that actively welcomes everyone, all the inputs, connects everyone together, no matter how diverse the backgrounds are from which these people are coming from, and the values each of them have, and ensuring that we have a productive, constructive discussion, values all while harming none. And equity would be practices and policies that are just, transparent, and consistent. In fact, there was a visual that I saw as well, which was quite helpful, but I can't find it at the moment. But at any rate, it's basically equity ensures that we are actively challenging and responding to issues of bias, of discrimination, and the like. So these are the three definitions, and I just wanted to put this forward because I thought these were, well defined and simple and easy to understand. So I hope that I just want to open it up to the committee for discussion if we can converge on these, and then always keep these definitions at the backs of our mind before we, make any recommendations, and before we have, come up with recommendations concerning specifically the city of Brisbane.
Thank you.
I like the succinctness. Makes sense.
Thank you for getting that together, Mangesh. And I like it, and I think it also reminds me of what Diane was saying in the beginning, of really thinking of the sense of inclusion as like the person and how you're showing up as a person and feeling welcomed and involved and equal in the community, and then the equity piece being the like how you're showing up or how we're showing up potentially like around policy, and like really, so it's not necessarily how someone feels, but it's actually like the way in which government or policies are acting upon those people, and making sure that that those are being done justly and fairly. And I think the final piece around accountability, I think that we, as communities continue to do this work, we take a hard look at policies that have existed for a long time and unearth or like recognize and reckon with the white supremacy that was involved in their creation. And so really like taking accountability for where that exists and as much as we are able, like calling that out and trying to undo it and make sure that like, for me, for this committee, the accountability piece anyway is really like, I don't know, shining a light on that and as we're able to change those policies.
So I do want to add something to the accountability part. Kind of like what something else I really want to know is what's the city council's goal with the idea committee? I don't think we really fully understand what they want to implement, and we're acting on their behalf. So kind of like maybe we could get someone from city council to kind of speak to us or just even write something up for us, and kind of like that way we can really push their vision forward, and maybe we can hold them accountable on whether their goals are actually beneficial to the community. Because then for the accountability portion, I was just thinking about that while Mangesh was talking about the other aspects of the idea committee, and the only people that we can truly hold accountable are the city council, because then we can't really hold anyone else in the community accountable for their actions. We can try, but at the end of the day, it's the people who are running this city that we really have to look up to and maybe kind of like create checks and balances for.
Right. So that's a good point. One input I have here is perhaps we can at least as a start define some metrics, define some measurements, and then have a periodic progress report on and see along with the city council and staff, you know, what progress has been made. We continue to, create reports on certain attributes and certain metrics. First of all, of course, we have to define what those metrics need to be. And then we continue to monitor those, measure those, and we have those reports so that we can gauge, is there a progress along these dimensions, along the dimensions of inclusion, diversity, and equity. And that's where the accountability comes in. The accountability, I think, then that's, less of a, burden relatively. And it is, at the same time, it ensures that we're heading in the right direction because, you cannot, so we are actually making measurements and reporting along agreed to metrics, and I think that will help us gauge our progress along the way.
Sounds great. Anything else to add? Diane, to
in terms of measurement, going back to the website, but is there any chance that we know from like a page view who click like a language translation, or if how many people look at the website of idea committee or idea like a page view kind of information?
I believe the Google Analytics is tracking, and I get an email every month from them about our most visited pages. I can tell you it's not the idea committee right now, but it's Parks and Recreation related pages.
the pool hours, the pool,
Mission Blue Center.
I'm just curious just to see, if idea committee is running properly, if everyone is, that's kind of drawing everyone's attention. Just kind of curious, it's for the future reference.
So I do have something to add to that, and I think Carolyn, you could probably help with answering this question. So whenever the state of Brisbane holds an event, what's the main outreach to the residents? I know that we have that new digital billboard by Community Park. We have the weekly blast. We have the Instagram account, Facebook, and everything else. But how else are we reaching kind of like the less, I guess, engaged members of the community, the ones who really don't care about looking at social media or going on the websites and stuff like that?
We have our monthly publication, The Star, that goes out every first of the month. So the next one would be dropping in a couple weeks on May 1st. So if we know about events and you need a 2-week lead time at least to make it into the Star, then we'll definitely make use of the Star to advertise events in all the ways that you mentioned.
Yeah, I know that the city website has a language translation, but I'm guessing the Star is strictly English, right?
Yeah, it is.
So just I guess going back to, I know that the demographic says that 0% of the city of Brisbane speaks anything other than English, but do they read anything other than English? Because I know for me, I can speak Chinese, but I can't read Chinese. So that's something that I want to kind of like maybe focus on a little more. Just kind of like, because then with a third of the population being Asian and another 10-15% being Hispanic or whatever that number was, it's my inclination to think that a good portion of them really either can't read English or they can't read it very well. So I feel like we're missing out on a huge portion of Brisbane by just only having English. But I'm not sure how we can really rectify that without a huge fiscal impact.
Yeah, it's not very often that people reach out on social media in a different language, but I have had a couple people reach out and ask questions on like Facebook Messenger in Spanish. And the county does have a lot of translated graphics that they send to us to elevate their messaging. So whenever I see those, I try to incorporate those on social media. And
I guess those are more county specific
yeah,
propaganda, I guess, in a sense. It doesn't have too much to do with Brisbane itself or the events or.
true. I mean, if we had I go back to the event from last year in the park where we were very intentional about reaching to the Asian population. So we did have translated flyers in Chinese and Tagalog. So I think that definitely helped to draw that amount of people out there. So a lot of it is just, if there's the intention to reach, then we can definitely look into more ways and more time spent to do that. But right now, yeah, the Star is only in English. I wonder though, like what the tools are available. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it to be able to translate like a PDF. Like we link them all as a PDF on our website, but maybe there's a way out there that can do that. Like our website can just do it like magic. So far.
Or publish the publication itself multilingual. I mean, that's like
or even have it available, like if people want to have it in a different language, like let us know. I mean, I haven't, again, it's people that want to engage too. Is it that they don't want to, or are they just not able to read it, or it's hard to, know the difference, right? But so far, I haven't heard of any requests for that, so.
Yeah, so I think that really goes back to just trying to figure out, well, I think the huge thing that we should really figure out is, do the other members of the community want to be engaged? Because then otherwise it's a fool's purpose if we're trying to do something in half of the population, they don't really care about park events or concerts and stuff like that. And we're just spending extra time on stuff that they don't want. So maybe we should try to figure out what do they want? Because then the thing is, I know I've talked to a lot of residents in Brisbane, they don't really care about certain events. And I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way to just kind of engage, well, just kind of like survey the
I
residents
was
of
just
Brisbane.
thinking about the survey.
And obviously, this is all voluntarily answered. So I'm not sure how helpful it could be, but something to think about.
There's going to be a survey in the May Star about Parks and Recreation needs assessment. And one of the questions does have to do with the ways that people get their information. Well, one, do they feel informed? And then following up on that is, what means do you get your information from the city?
Right. But it's still a very limited group of people who answer those, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Some surveys, there's hundreds of people that weigh in, but yes, it seems to be very topic specific.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really great point. And I wonder if there's also a resource request that we can make around, like, again, just thinking about not reinventing the wheel. Like, if there are other places that have successfully surveyed their communities to understand these kinds of things, like, how did they go about doing it? Because I mean, plus 100 on, we shouldn't be coming up with solutions until we really understand how people interpret the problem and like what sort of solutions they would even want. Feels, I don't know, not very smart and not very good uses of our time.
Yeah, so I do agree in that. It just made me think of something else I wanted to add, because then if we're able to kind of like figure out what the community wants in inclusion, diversity, and equality, because then that'd be great. Because then otherwise, we're just right now 4 people plus city council thinking of what we think is ideal, but that might not be what the community wants. Because then that kind of goes back to the accountability part, because us 4, we could have a certain idea of what we want to accomplish, but we still have to be held accountable by our community members. So I think just kind of gauging what everyone's goal is, not just city council, not just our goals, but kind of like the 4,000 people who live in Brisbane as a whole. And I know that's a tough ask, but if we could even get remotely close to just kind of speaking with even a handful of people, I think that would kind of be able to help us mold the idea committee into something that could possibly be very great.
Yeah, listening event or something. I like how that's just going. Survey or listening event or something to help steer this.
One of the early ideas from the city council subcommittees was like a listening tour, a way for members of the committee to have events and meet with different sectors of the community and really discuss these issues. So a listening tour was another idea that was brought forth by council members, and they were excited about that, but also like had to be kind of put on pause because of the pandemic and events and stuff like that. So I think, I wonder like if we had like an in-person event versus like a Zoom event of like a listening tour, if we can get different sectors of the community to have conversations with the committee around diversity and equity.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea, a public forum, but obviously with COVID still being in existence, it's kind of hard to kind of do that. And well, I guess I know with the beginning of every committee and commission meeting, we have public comments. How aware is the committee, the community on the idea committee right now? Do they, because then I don't think I've talked to a lot of people in town and I've told them, about this committee, and they have no idea what it is. And maybe if we could do some sort of outreach saying that, hey, every third Wednesday of the month, we're having this meeting. We would love public comments on what they think we should be doing. And I think that could really spark a lot of conversation, even if it's remote or do a text message, email, or phone call.
I think that we did do a little blurb in the April Star about the IDEA committee. And after the first meeting last month, we just had together a summary of that and provided I'm looking at my wall because the issues are tacked on there, but there's also a little advertisement to join the meetings with our Zoom information on the calendar page. But yeah, we can definitely use those channels to amplify even more that we want to hear your ideas. The idea.
I think during my interview with City Council for this committee, I talked a lot about following up. So what City Council has been really great about doing is just kind of bringing the idea forward, but just never following up on it, just kind of like reiterating certain ideas. And I think that's what you kind of mentioned, saying that it was briefly talked about in Star a little bit, but then after that, it just kind of fell through the cracks and just kind of got pushed to the back burner. So maybe if we could just revisit the idea of making the committee more well-known to the community.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
And like, well, we could start with like social media, Facebook and Instagram, and I know you have control over that. And then hopefully by next month, we can have at least one other person come in, tell us what they think the IDEA committee should be doing.
I'm just grabbing my phone right now. Okay.
Thank you for that. And I think these are good starting points to the discussion. Anybody else want to add more to generally wish lists for what else will help the committee make local policy recommendations and create a work plan for next year? Like, what are the additional support that this committee need?
I guess something that just occurred to me too, and just really thinking about accessibility. If we were successful in attracting a lot of people to join the meetings, like what are the opportunities for translators, if that was necessary, or just like when the committee is when we're like talking about when the meetings are and stuff, and just being like very intentional about maybe the whole star can't be multilingual, but that like the announcement about the meetings and stuff is being shared in different languages.
Yeah, I agree with Alex's suggestion, because when I look at the recruitment for this committee members, it just kind of plain English didn't really attract other national or citizens or non-English language. So maybe, those people who don't really pay attention wouldn't really realize this is for me or for everyone.
Yeah, I think definitely that is a barrier in terms of like, we hold our meetings in English, and I personally can only coordinate or host, just coordinate a meeting in English. At the very least, maybe half English, half Tagalog. Don't ask me to do that.
We don't need translation, but like like a word flag, or I did not even know that website has a language translation tool that exists. So make it more like visible, make everyone aware that we're kind of respecting other nationality or language, or it doesn't really need to be the whole meeting is conducted in other language, but it's just like an announcement or some highlight or spotlight on the newsletter, or just kind of very small step may help make everyone realize.
Well, I do have a suggestion. I've seen Zoom meetings where they would take transcripts of the actual meeting and then just kind of save it. I feel like we could just throw the transcript into Google Translate and at least have a rough translation of what's been going on. If anyone's ever interested, that wouldn't take too much time or resources. But I would say, I guess, Ingrid, you would have to figure out how to get that transcript. But I know it's possible, but I'm not sure if it's a paid feature or whatnot.
Yeah. I will be providing minutes of the meetings as well. I know it's available if we do YouTube videos, right? For translation.
Yeah, after we post the video, you can select closed captioning and change it to whatever language.
Mhm.
And then we
Great.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, we have transcription services through
Okay.
Zoom if people wanted to read it.
Yeah.
But
And
that
if
would have
we
to be turned on, right, Ingrid? Like during the meeting.
Mhm.
And I feel like we could just kind of make it known that the option's available for anyone who doesn't speak English to kind of like view it.
Mhm.
And then I guess just expanding beyond the idea committee, we could maybe do that for all the other communities. Just have that transcription service available. I'm not sure if it's done with like Parks and Recs or any of the other communities, but it's not just the idea committee that I think we should really get inclusion in. It's everything else. It's kind of like I know the city safety one, and even like city planning, like because in other members of the community, they do. I think they should have a voice in just knowing exactly what's going on outside of planning events and policies for inclusion.
So one question, Ingrid, is it possible to get a copy of or a listing of all the community programs, focused programs, events that have taken place in the past year or 2 years, and what the current plan is for the coming year or moving forward? And then this committee can look at those, and then we can essentially see, are those in line with our inclusion, diversity, and equity agenda? And if there's a gap, if there is a deficit, we can make some suggestions on what else needs to be added. That kind of is reflective of the diversity and the composition of Brisbane based on the census, on the stats that Caroline showed us earlier.
Yeah, this is a great idea.
And I do have something else to add to that. I kind of like exactly how much authority does our committee have with city council? Because then it can all be lip service. Like we could have these great ideas if the city council is unwilling to implement any of it. So I just want to have an open conversation with city council or like whoever plans the events and everything. How much can we actually do as the committee?
Definitely this committee is a policy-making recommendation body to the council, so they would have the ultimate say and approval of your work plan. But there'll definitely be a lot of opportunities for partnerships within other departments. But like you said, the timing of them and the decision-making around those events probably overlap, as because the IDEA committee is just getting started and their work plan and their activities.
Mhm.
So we can gather a timeline also of like, what are some of those opportunities for partnership, and when would be the best time to do that or have conversations with the different commissions and committees. But we can take a look at that
Mhm.
the next meeting. And I know one of the things that we needed to do was like identify or nominate the chair and vice chair. That's also a good opportunity. So like once we know who those people, who the chair and the vice chair will be, then we could help kind of formulate and plan the upcoming meetings ahead. So then we could kind of figure out the flow of the meetings and what would be prioritized for each meeting. And the second thing, aside from the vice chair and chair, would be we could also do selections of subcommittees, which are kind of like work groups. I know right now there's like only 4 of you, so maybe a couple of subcommittees to help get started, depending on kind of like some of your priority and issue areas that you want to work on. We can get started with that. And lastly, we'll also have, this is part of like the announcements for later, but the recruitment will begin, we're hoping by this Friday till the end of May, to recruit up to 3 more members to the committee. So to kind of provide more opportunities for members of the community to get involved, have different perspectives, and kind of have more people involved in the decision making within the IDEA committee. So that will probably be, in terms of the timeline, a recruitment period in May, interviews in June, and hopefully 3 new members by July in the summer to help with the work as well. So we're kind of timing it also so that when the new people come in, it'll also be, we could also learn together with the new members. So we're kind of like pacing that as well.
So in terms of the subcommittees, we could do this in 2 ways. One is we can have a subcommittee for specifically for inclusion, for diversity, and for equity, or we can have subcommittees focused on programs, events, and policies. And the committee then basically discusses the inputs jointly, whichever way we choose, and we make recommendations to the City Council based on our consensus.
Yeah, we could come up with some ways to do that. And we could choose the subcommittees the next meeting. That could be an action item for next time. That's great.
Ingrid, what is the definition of the roles of chair and vice chair?
That's a great idea. That's a great question. So for the idea of vice chair and chair, so the chair is likely the person who helps kind of identify the agenda meeting items for future IDEA meetings. They are the main person to kind of help facilitate the meeting during the evening. They read the preamble, and then they just make sure that everyone's participating and going through all the action items and discussion items throughout the evening. But they'll be kind of like the main point person to help kind of discuss like, okay, these are the agenda items and action items that we'd want to discuss at future committee meetings. The vice chair will be there in case that the chairperson can't make it to the meeting. They'll be the acting chair. Secondly, it's kind of like a training for the vice chair. So when they have to do the nomination that person will is hoping to be elected to be the next chair, consequently, for the following year. I think that's about it, but I definitely will need the support of the chair and the vice chair to help guide the direction of the committee and the prioritization of the agenda items for those meetings.
So do we, should we wait until the other 3 additional members are recruited and brought on board before we decide on the chair and vice chair, or should we do it now amongst the 4 members present?
I would personally would like to get the nomination period with the 4 of you, because you will have the longest tenure, but it's up to the committee. That means that if, in terms of the timeline, the chair and vice chair won't be elected until like July, sometime in the summer.
Yeah, I think we should just decide now. That way we have a point of contact with, let's say, council and staff without waiting till July.
Do we have a nomination? And I believe people can nominate themselves, right? Yeah. Stuart. Yeah, and we'll need a first and a second for a nomination, and then we can go from there.
I think nominating yourself is called volunteering.
It's also called be careful what you ask for, you just might get it.
That's right.
Obviously, the chair has a lot of support from staff to figure out what's on the agenda. The challenge is if there isn't a chair or a vice chair from the committee, then it seems as if staff is running a committee. And that's not really the purpose of staff. We're here to support you and what you want to have done, not to, lead the committee itself. And I will tell you from personal experience, I've been the facilitator for a committee for over 2 years, and it does create a challenge. But Ingrid and Caroline are there to support the chair in any way the chair would needs support. So I wouldn't be hesitant to step up to do that.
Right. Any nominations on the floor? I'd like to nominate Diane.
Nominee is shocked. Would you, is there a second?
That person can refuse, right?
Please, someone volunteer. There was already a challenge for me to come to this point.
Well, if Diane doesn't want to do it, I'll volunteer.
Okay,
Great.
is there a second for William Locke as chair?
I think Diane seconded it. That's what I heard.
I think you
Okay.
have to say it first.
Was that a second, Diane?
Oh, yes, yes.
All right, so all in favor, I'm going to do a roll call here, roll call vote. Committee member Horton,
Aye.
committee member Colette-Carr,
Aye.
committee member Locke,
Aye.
and committee member Assetto.
Aye.
Perfect. Now for the vice chair.
I'll volunteer as tribute.
I'll second that.
Perfect. First from committee member Locke. I'm sorry, a second from committee member Locke with Alex Horton as vice chair. Roll call vote, committee member Horton,
Aye.
committee member Colette-Carr,
Aye.
committee member Locke,
Aye.
and committee member Assetto.
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations to the both of you.
Just the website later.
Just order. Caroline, change the website. Make it official.
Caroline, I noticed that the meeting times haven't been updated.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you for that. I will
Yeah.
adjust that portion of the idea.
Okay, awesome.
Sounds great. And then within staff reports, next is our staff report. Like we said, the recruitment for council approval is going to be starting April 22nd, and we're hoping it will go through from about another month, so about May till May 25th, and then interviews starting in June. So please, I'll forward you the announcements as soon as that is ready. So please help spread the word.
It'll be put out in the blast on Friday. I wanted to just ask if everyone on the committee was signed up for the blast.
Yep.
The email
Everyone
blast.
is? Are you, Diane?
Oh, no.
Okay. Is it okay if I subscribe you?
Oh, yes, yes.
All right. I'll send you last week's too. We did a call out for the Google Translate in the blast last week.
Perfect.
You'll get it on Friday afternoon.
And we'll also have, this is going to be other opportunities of like staff providing other announcements or other updates and news. How about committee members? Any reports or announcements you'd want to share with the group for now? All right. Okay, so our next item would be adjournment. I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 7:22. I'll work with you, William, to help with create the agenda for the next meeting.
That's good.
And so stay tuned for that, and then stay tuned also for the recruitment announcements, so you can forward that.
Can we pause and just smile for the camera? I didn't like the picture.
Should staff take out our video, or would staff?
I think it's okay with that.
Okay.
I think it would just show up our names. Okay. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's make sure everyone's on here. Stuart's
Is that
looking
for the
at another
website?
screen.
Was that for the
You're
website?
supposed to look at.
I was looking at other email. I apologize. Take another picture.
Can we just, okay, one more time? 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Let me just make sure. Yes. Okay.
It's always
Better.
weird. Like I'm looking at your face, am I like looking at the camera? It's just like.
You asked if this is for the website. I don't know. I just wanted to take it.
Personal collection.
No, we'll put it. We'll make use of it.
Thank you, Ingrid, Caroline, and Stuart, for your support and for giving us all the resources in arranging this. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you also for all the directions and the directives. I think it's very helpful.
Great idea.
Good ideas. Yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording now.